The babysitter everyone ignored became unforgettable on a Caribbean trip with her boss. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories like this one. Your support truly means the world to us. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. She arrives at the villa quietly, the way she always does. No announcement, no welcome, just the soft click of the side gate closing behind her as the Caribbean sun pours over white stone and palm shadows. The ocean stretches beyond the infinity pool, blue and endless, like a postcard someone else gets to live inside. She adjusts the strap of her canvas tote on her shoulder and steps forward, already scanning for toys, towels, anything that needs to be picked up before someone notices it out of place. To everyone else, she is invisible. She is the babysitter, the help, the girl who came with the family, not the guest. No one asks her name. No one offers her a drink. Conversations pass right through her as if she were part of the furniture. Laughter rises from the terrace, where linen shirts and designer sunglasses catch the light, and she keeps her eyes down, moving with practiced efficiency. This trip is not a vacation for her. It is work, extra hours, extra responsibility, extra pay that she desperately needs. Her contract is clear. Care for the child, stay out of the way. Do not insert yourself into family moments. Do not attend events unless instructed. Do not forget your place. She never does. Inside, the air conditioning hums softly. The marble floors are cool beneath her sandals. She kneels to straighten a row of toy cars near the window, aligning them carefully, the way the little boy likes. He is the only one who looks at her directly, the only one who smiles without expectation. "Are we going to the beach today?" he asks. She smiles back, warm and steady. "If your father says yes." His father, the man who owns this villa, the man who signed her contract without really looking at her, the millionaire boss everyone listens to, everyone defers to, everyone fears disappointing. He moves through rooms like gravity itself, conversations orbiting him, decisions bending around his presence. She hears his voice before she sees him, calm, controlled, used to being obeyed. "Has everything been taken care of?" he asks someone on the phone. She stands instinctively, smoothing her shirt, even though the question is not for her. It never is. He ends the call and turns, finally noticing that someone is there. For a brief second, his eyes land on her. Not really on her, but past her. A quick glance, professional, distant. "Make sure he has sunscreen," he says, already looking away. "Yes, sir," she replies softly. "That is all. That is always all." She watches him step back into the sunlight, surrounded by people who belong here, people who speak his language of deals and appearances. She exhales slowly, grounding herself. She is not here to be seen. She is here to do her job. And yet, as the day unfolds, something shifts. The heat rises. The beach calls. The child tugs at her hand, laughing, pulling her toward the water. For the first time since arriving, she steps out from the shade and into the open, the bright Caribbean light revealing what the shadows have hidden. She does not notice the moment when the noise dips. She does not see the pause on the terrace. She only feels the breeze, the salt air, the simple joy of a child running free. But somewhere behind her, the man who never looks twice does. And without realizing it, the babysitter everyone ignored takes her first step out of invisibility. She learns the rhythm of the house by the second morning. Wake before sunrise. Prepare breakfast exactly the way the child likes it. Cut the fruit small. No seeds, no surprises. Pack the beach bag with sunscreen, towels, snacks, and a change of clothes. Double-check everything, because mistakes here are remembered. She moves quietly through the villa while the rest of the household sleeps. The ocean outside is calm, glassy, stretching toward the horizon. For a moment, she allows herself to stand still and breathe it in. Then she reminds herself why she is here. This trip pays double. Back home, double pay means catching up on overdue bills. It means keeping the lights on. It means buying time. Time she desperately needs. She does not think about dreams anymore. Dreams are expensive. She thinks about responsibility. When the family finally gathers for breakfast, she stays standing near the counter, ready to step in if needed. Conversations swirl around investments, schedules, and appearances. She listens without reacting, a skill she learned long ago. Her boss enters last. He looks rested, composed, already dressed for the day. When he sits beside his son, the room subtly reorients around him. He asks a few questions, efficient and precise. Has the itinerary been confirmed? Is the driver ready? Are there any issues he should know about? No issues, someone answers quickly. No one looks at her. She serves the child his breakfast, kneeling slightly to meet his eye. He thanks her. His father does not notice the exchange, only the result. A calm child, a smooth morning. That is her job, to make everything easier without being seen. Later, at the beach, the rules become even clearer. She sets up the umbrella and lays out towels while the adults talk nearby. She keeps the child close, always within arm's reach. When he runs toward the water, she follows. When he tires, she carries him back. When he laughs, she laughs with him, softly, never drawing attention. She feels the weight of eyes sometimes, but she does not look back. She knows how people talk. The help should not forget their place. Her boss watches from a distance, checking his phone, speaking with associates. He trusts the system he put in place. He hired her. She performs. That is the extent of their relationship. At least, that is what he believes. In the afternoon heat, the child grows restless. The sun is strong, the sand hot. She leads him to the shallow edge of the water, keeping her voice calm, reassuring. She applies sunscreen carefully, methodically. Every movement is professional, controlled. Her boss looks up briefly, drawn by his son's laughter. He sees her then, really sees her, not as a role, but as a presence. How steady she is, how patient, how completely focused on the child. There is nothing performative about it, no attempt to impress. He tells himself it means nothing. She is doing what she is paid to do. Still, his gaze lingers longer than necessary before he looks away. That evening, the villa prepares for a small dinner gathering. Nothing formal, but important enough. Guests arrive in pressed clothes and easy confidence. Music plays softly. Drinks are passed around. She helps the child wash the salt from his hair and changes him into clean clothes. When she steps back into the living area, she pauses. There is nowhere for her to go. The staff quarters are full. The terrace is crowded. She stands near the hallway, half in shadow, half in light, holding a folded towel. She overhears someone ask, "Who is that?" Another voice answers dismissively, "Just the babysitter." She lowers her eyes and takes a step back. Across the room, her boss hears the exchange. For the first time, the label does not sit comfortably with him. He does not say anything, not yet. But as he watches her retreat quietly out of view, something settles in his chest. A subtle awareness that this woman, who makes his life easier in 100 invisible ways, might not be as insignificant as everyone assumes. And for her, standing alone in the hallway, the rules remain the same. Do your job, stay invisible, do not expect anything more. She does not know that the contract she is trying so hard to honor has already begun to crack. By the third day, the rules of her role are no longer implied. They are spoken. It happens in the late morning, when the heat presses heavy against the windows and the child is occupied with a puzzle on the floor. Her boss asks her to step into the study. His tone is polite, controlled, the way it always is when business needs to be clarified. She follows him inside and stops just short of the desk. He does not invite her to sit. "I want to make sure we are aligned," he says, folding his hands. "This trip has more moving parts than usual." "Yes, sir," she answers immediately. He nods, satisfied with her readiness. "Your responsibilities are the same as outlined in your contract. My son comes first. His routine does not change because of the setting." She nods again. "There will be social events," he continues. "Dinners, gatherings. You are not expected to attend unless I specifically ask you to. If you are present, it is only in your professional capacity." "I understand." "There are cameras, guests, business partners." He pauses, choosing his words carefully. "Discretion is important." "I am discreet," she says quietly. He looks at her then, measuring, not unkindly but thoroughly. "Good. Also, if there is ever confusion about boundaries, you come to me directly. We avoid misunderstandings." The word hangs between them. "Of course," she replies. That is the end of the conversation. No threats, no raised voices, just clarity. just lines drawn neatly where they belong. When she leaves the study, her chest feels tight, but not from fear, from familiarity. She has lived inside rules her entire life. Rules about where to stand, when to speak, what to expect. She returns to the child and kneels beside him, helping turn a puzzle piece the right way. He beams when it clicks into place. "You are good at this," he tells her. She smiles. "So are you." Outside, the adults move through their day, unaware of the quiet contract being honored in the living room. That afternoon, preparations begin for a yacht outing. Staff move quickly, loading bags and coolers. She packs with precision, checking and rechecking. Water bottles, snacks, sunscreen. A light jacket in case the wind picks up. On the dock, the air smells like salt and fuel. The yacht gleams white against the blue water. Guests step aboard easily, laughing, sunglasses already in place. She waits until the child is safely on deck before following, staying close but out of the way. She positions herself near the seating area, where she can see everything without being seen. Her boss moves through conversations with ease. He is in his element here, confident, relaxed, untouchable. When someone calls his name, he turns. When someone laughs, he smiles. Everything appears effortless. She watches, not with longing, but with understanding. This is his world. The child tugs at her hand, asking to see the front of the boat. She checks with a crew member, then guides him forward, keeping one hand firmly on his shoulder as the water rushes past. Her boss glances over, a quick assessment. The child is safe. The babysitter is attentive. He turns back to his guests. The rules are holding. Later, as the yacht cuts through the water, one of the guests approaches her, a woman with an easy smile and curious eyes. "You travel with them often?" the woman asks casually. "Yes," she answers. "It must be nice," the woman says, gesturing around, "seeing the world like this." She chooses her response carefully. "It is work." The woman laughs lightly, as if that is a joke, then drifts away. She looks back out at the ocean, her grip steady on the railing. Work is predictable. Work has rules. Work does not disappoint you if you do not expect more than it offers. When they return to shore, the sun is beginning to dip. The day winds down smoothly. No incidents, no surprises. Her boss thanks the crew, coordinates plans for the evening, and finally turns to her. "You did well today," he says, matter of fact. "Thank you, sir." It is the closest thing to praise she has received. As she walks back toward the villa with the child beside her, she reminds herself of the truth she has lived by for years. She is not here to be noticed. She is here to fulfill a role. And as long as the rules remain intact, she will remain exactly what the contract defines her to be. Just the babysitter, nothing more. The shift happens the next morning, quietly at first, almost unnoticed. The child wakes early, restless and excited. There is a small beach club nearby, one the guests have been talking about all week. Music, shallow water, space for children to play while adults linger nearby. Her boss gives brief instructions while checking his phone. "Take him there for a couple of hours," he says. "I will join later." "Yes, sir." It is not unusual. She gathers what she needs and walks with the child down the palm-lined path toward the beach club. The air is already warm, the sun bright but gentle. Laughter drifts from the shoreline. At the entrance, she hesitates. There is no staff entrance, no back door, just an open space where guests move freely, barefoot and relaxed. She steps forward anyway, focused on the child's hand in hers. They find a quiet spot near the water. She helps him build small sand structures, patiently reinforcing walls that collapse too quickly. When he splashes, she keeps close, steady and alert. The world narrows to his safety, his joy. She does not notice when eyes begin to linger, not because of how she looks, but because of how she carries herself. Calm, capable, fully present. She belongs here in a way no one expected. Someone offers the child a drink. She checks it first. Someone jokes with him. She smiles politely, guiding him back toward her. She does not raise her voice. She does not seek attention. She is simply good at what she does. A while later, her boss arrives. He stops just short of the seating area, sunglasses in hand. From a distance, he takes in the scene. His son laughing freely, safe, engaged, grounded. And beside him, the woman who has made that possible. For the first time, he watches without multitasking, without distraction. She kneels in the sand, brushing grit from the child's hands, speaking softly. When he stumbles, she steadies him without panic. When he grows tired, she sits with him, letting him lean against her. There is no performance, no awareness of being observed. Something tightens in his chest. A group nearby laughs loudly. Someone glances over, then looks again. A few murmured words pass between them, curious, not unkind. "She is with them?" someone asks. "Yes," another replies. "The babysitter." The word lands differently now. Her boss steps closer. She looks up instinctively, ready for instructions, for correction. Instead, he pauses. "Everything okay?" he asks. "Yes," she says. "He is getting tired, though. We were about to take a break." He nods. "Take your time." Not sir, not a command, just permission. The moment is small, but it changes the air around them. As they move toward the shaded seating area, someone gestures for them to sit. She hesitates, scanning for an alternative, a place she should be instead. Her boss notices. "It is fine," he says evenly. "You can sit." She does. It is the first time she has sat among them. Conversation continues around her, but she remains focused on the child, offering him water, wiping his hands. Still professional, still careful, but no longer hidden. Her boss joins a discussion nearby, yet his attention drifts back to her more than once. He notices how people respond to her presence, how she does not shrink, how she does not overstep. She exists comfortably in the space she has been given. Later, as they prepare to leave, one of the guests smiles at her. "He is lucky to have you," the woman says, nodding toward the child. "Thank you," she replies, surprised by the sincerity. Her boss hears it. On the walk back to the villa, the child chatters happily, recounting the day in excited bursts. She listens, laughing softly at the right moments. Behind them, her boss follows at an unhurried pace. The rules have not been broken, but something has shifted. She did not ask to be seen. She did not try to change her role. Yet, without realizing it, she stepped into the open. And for the first time, her boss understands that the babysitter everyone ignored is no longer invisible. Not to him. By the 5th day, the attention becomes impossible to ignore. It starts at breakfast, a subtle pause when she enters the room with the child, a glance held a second too long. Someone asks if she will be joining them later, then quickly corrects themselves, embarrassed, as if unsure which category she belongs to. She feels it, the shift in the air, the way eyes track her movements now. She keeps her posture the same, shoulders relaxed, voice even, focus on the child. That is how she survives moments like this, by staying anchored to her purpose. Her boss notices everything. He notices the way conversations slow when she passes. He notices how she is suddenly included in questions that are not meant for her, then excluded again just as quickly. He notices how she never takes advantage of it. There is a luncheon planned that afternoon. Nothing extravagant, but important enough that appearances matter. Linen tablecloths, polished silverware, guests who know how to read a room. Before they leave, he gives her instructions. "You can sit at the adjacent table with him," he says, referring to his son, close enough that he feels comfortable. "Yes, sir." She does not ask questions. She never does. At the restaurant, the host hesitates when they arrive. He looks from her to her boss, uncertain. "2 tables," her boss says calmly, "next to each other." The host nods and leads them through the dining area. She takes her seat with the child, helping him settle, keeping him engaged. She is aware of the stares now, not hostile, curious, measuring. A woman at the main table leans over to another guest and whispers something. A man glances at her, then back at her boss. The question hangs unspoken. Who is she? She pretends not to notice. She always has. Midway through the meal, the child grows restless. She distracts him quietly, offering him a game, lowering her voice so as not to disrupt the table nearby. He calms almost instantly. Her boss watches from the corner of his eye. Someone comments on how well-behaved his son is. He nods politely, accepting the compliment as expected. "Yes," he says, "she is very good with him." It is the first time he has acknowledged her contribution aloud. The table quiets for a fraction of a second. She looks up instinctively, then back down, continuing what she is doing. She does not smile, she does not react, but the ripple spreads. After lunch, as people linger, one of the guests approaches her directly. "You must be exhausted," the woman says kindly. "Traveling with a child is not easy." She answers honestly, "He is a good kid." The woman smiles. "That says a lot about you." Before she can respond, her boss steps closer. "We are heading back," he says, not dismissive, not abrupt, just final. The woman nods and steps away. On the drive back to the villa, the child falls asleep against her shoulder. She adjusts carefully, making sure he is comfortable. She does not move for the rest of the ride. Her boss watches in the rearview mirror. Later that evening, there is a small gathering by the pool. Music plays softly, glasses clink, laughter rises and falls. She remains at the edge, just as she always has. The child plays nearby, content. A man she does not recognize laughs too loudly and gestures in her direction. "You have quite the setup," he says to her boss. "Nanny, assistant, everything in one." The comment is meant as a joke. She freezes for a half second, then recovers, lowering her gaze. Her boss does not laugh. "She is the babysitter," he says evenly, "and she is here to do her job." The man shrugs, unbothered, and moves on. But the moment lingers. Later, when the crowd thins, her boss approaches her. "You handled that well," he says. She looks up, surprised. "It was nothing." "It was not," he replies. Silence stretches between them. Not uncomfortable, just unfamiliar. She waits for dismissal, for instructions, for the usual distance to be restored. Instead, he nods once and walks away. That night, as she prepares for bed, she sits on the edge of her room and exhales slowly. She did nothing differently today. She followed the rules, maintained boundaries, stayed professional. And yet, the world around her is responding as if something has changed. She does not know what comes next, but she knows this: being invisible was easier. Being seen comes with consequences, and the contract she relies on to keep her safe is about to be tested in ways she cannot control. That night, the villa grows quiet earlier than usual. The guests leave one by one. Music fades. The pool lights dim. Staff move silently, resetting the space for morning. She helps the child brush his teeth, reads him a short story, and waits until his breathing slows into sleep. Only then does she step out into the hallway, closing the door softly behind her. She expects the day to be over. As she turns toward her room, she hears her boss's voice behind her. "Do you have a moment?" She stops immediately and turns to face him. "Yes, sir." He gestures toward the terrace. "Out here." The night air is warm, calmer now, the ocean a dark stretch of sound and motion beyond the railing. A single light casts a soft glow over the seating area. It feels different without an audience, smaller, more honest. She stands near the edge, hands loosely folded, waiting. He does not speak right away. He leans on the railing, looking out at the water, as if choosing his words carefully. "You have been very consistent," he says at last. "With my son, with your responsibilities." "Thank you," she replies. "I value that. It is not praise, not quite, but it is closer than anything he has offered before." Silence settles again. She wonders if she should leave, but he does not dismiss her. "Traveling like this is not easy," he continues, "especially when you are working." "It is manageable," she says truthfully. He glances at her, then back at the ocean. That is not an answer most people give. She hesitates, then decides honesty is safer than distance. Most people are not paid to manage. A faint smile crosses his face before he can stop it. "I suppose not." The moment surprises both of them. He exhales slowly. "I do not always notice the things that keep my life running smoothly. That is not an excuse, just an observation." She shifts her weight slightly, unsure how to respond. This is not part of the contract. There is no rule for this kind of conversation. "I try not to be in the way," she says carefully. He turns to her fully now. "You are not in the way." The words land with unexpected weight. She looks up, meeting his gaze for the first time without instinctively lowering her eyes. There is no authority in his expression now, no command, just something quieter, tired, human. "You are very good with him," he adds, "my son." He makes it easy, she replies. He just wants to feel safe. He nods. So do most people. The admission slips out before he can contain it. The ocean fills the pause that follows. She does not comment. She does not analyze. She simply listens, the way she always does. I am not very good at this, he says, gesturing vaguely between them. Talking, outside of work. I know, she says gently. You do not have to be. Another silence, this one softer. A breeze lifts her hair slightly. She tucks it back without thinking. He notices the small gesture, the way she grounds herself in quiet movements. You never ask for more, he says suddenly. She looks at him, surprised. More than what? Than what you are given, he clarifies. She considers the question. I learned a long time ago that expectations make things complicated. That sounds learned, he says. It is. He studies her for a moment, then nods, as if recognizing something familiar in her restraint. I should let you rest, he says finally. She waits for dismissal. It does not come. Thank you, he adds instead. For tonight. For every day. You are welcome, she replies. As she turns to leave, he speaks again, quieter this time. You can call me by my name, when we are not in front of others. She stops. Yes, she says after a moment. I will remember that. She walks back to her room with a steady pace, but her heart beats faster than it did before. Nothing improper happened. No lines were crossed. No rules were broken. And yet something fundamental has changed. On the terrace, he remains by the railing long after she leaves, staring out at the dark water. For the first time, the role she fills no longer feels like a position. It feels like a presence. And both of them know that once something becomes personal, the contract that once protected them will not be enough to hold it in place. The tension arrives without warning, sharp and public. It begins the morning after the quiet conversation on the terrace, when the villa fills again with voices and movement. A business associate arrives unexpectedly, earlier than planned. He is confident, well-dressed, and far too observant. The kind of man who notices dynamics others overlook. She senses it immediately. The way his eyes linger on her just a moment too long. The way he watches her boss instead of her when he speaks, measuring, calculating. She keeps to her routine. Breakfast, the child, packing for the day. She does not engage. She does not look up. But the associate does not let it go. At lunch, he laughs loudly, gesturing with his glass. You run a tight ship, he says to her boss. Everything seems very well managed. Her boss smiles politely. I prefer efficiency. The man nods, then glances toward her. And she is part of that efficiency? The question is casual. The implication is not. She takes care of my son, her boss answers evenly. The associate hums, as if considering something amusing. Of course, still, people talk. Her hand stills for half a second as she pours water for the child. People always talk. Later that afternoon, the associate corners her near the hallway, away from others but not fully alone. You must enjoy this lifestyle, he says lightly. Traveling, luxury. It has a way of blurring lines. She meets his gaze calmly. I am working. He smiles, thin and knowing. Of course you are. She steps past him without another word, her pulse steady but alert. That evening, the villa hosts a formal dinner. This one matters. Investors, partners, people who remember everything. She prepares the child carefully, smoothing his hair, adjusting his collar. When she steps into the dining area with him, the associate is already there, seated close to her boss. The dinner progresses smoothly until the associate raises his glass. A toast, he announces, to success, and to the people who make success possible. Polite laughter follows. His eyes flick to her. And to the help, he adds, smiling broadly, who sometimes forget where they stand. The room stills. She feels the heat rise in her face but keeps her posture steady. The child looks up at her, confused. She places a gentle hand on his shoulder. Her boss sets his glass down slowly. The sound is small, final. What exactly are you implying? He asks. The associate shrugs. Nothing at all, just an observation. Boundaries are important, especially when appearances matter. The implication is now unmistakable. She lowers her gaze, prepared for the familiar outcome. Silence, distance, correction. Instead, her boss stands. "She has not forgotten anything," he says, his voice controlled but firm. "She does exactly what she was hired to do." The associate raises an eyebrow. "You are defensive." "I am precise," her boss replies, "and I do not appreciate insinuations about people who work for me." A murmur ripples through the table. The associate laughs it off, lifting his glass again. "As you wish." Dinner continues, but the atmosphere has shifted. The line has been drawn. Later that night, after guests have left and the villa settles into quiet, she stands alone in her room, hands resting on the back of a chair. This is the moment she has always feared, when attention becomes accusation, when being seen turns dangerous. A knock comes at her door. She opens it to find her boss standing there, expression unreadable. "You did nothing wrong," he says immediately. She nods. "I know." "Do you?" he asks. She meets his gaze. "I stayed within my role." "That is not what I meant." Silence stretches between them. "The associate crossed a line," he continues. "Not you." She hesitates. "These situations have consequences." "I am aware," he says. "For you," she clarifies. "And for me." He studies her, the weight of the decision settling in. This is no longer about contracts or roles. It is about choice. He can restore distance, reassert control, protect his image, or he can acknowledge what everyone has begun to see. "I will handle this," he says finally. She nods, though uncertainty tightens her chest. As he turns to leave, she speaks quietly. "I can step back, if that is what you need." He stops. "That would be easier," he admits. Then he turns to face her again. "But it would not be right." The words hang in the air. For the first time, the cost of choosing her becomes real. And both of them understand that by morning, silence will no longer be an option. The morning arrives with no chance to retreat. Sunlight spills across the villa, bright and unyielding. The associate is still there, seated at the long outdoor table with two other partners, coffee untouched, posture relaxed. It is the kind of calm that comes from knowing you hold leverage. She senses it before anyone speaks. Her boss joins them without ceremony. He does not sit at the head of the table this time. He stands, hands resting lightly on the back of a chair, eyes clear, voice steady. "I want to address something," he says. The conversation stops. She remains a few steps away, the child beside her, fingers loosely wrapped around hers. She considers stepping back, disappearing the way she always has. He notices. "Stay," he says, without looking at her. It is not a request. The associate smiles faintly. "This sounds serious." "It is," her boss replies. "Yesterday crossed a line." The associate lifts his hands. "If you are referring to my comment, it was taken out of context." "There was no confusion," her boss says, "only disrespect." The other partners shift uncomfortably. "This woman," he continues, gesturing toward her, "is not a topic for speculation. She is not an accessory to my lifestyle, and she is not a reflection of my judgment." The associate's smile tightens. "Then what is she?" Her breath catches. He answers without hesitation. "She is someone I trust," he says, "with the most important part of my life." The words land heavy and unmistakable. Silence follows. "She has honored every boundary I set," he continues. "She has acted with professionalism and integrity. Any suggestion otherwise reflects on the person making it, not on her." The associate scoffs lightly. "You are letting sentiment interfere with optics." "No," her boss says calmly. "I am correcting a false narrative." He straightens. "If that creates discomfort, then this partnership may not be aligned." The message is clear. The associate studies him for a long moment, then exhales sharply. "I see. You are making this personal." "Yes," her boss replies. "I am." The conversation ends there, not loudly, not dramatically, but decisively. The associate excuses himself soon after, tension trailing behind him like a shadow. When the others leave, the space feels larger, quieter, honest. She stands frozen, unsure what to do with the weight of what just happened. Her boss turns to her. "I should have done that sooner," he says. She swallows. "You did not have to." "I did," he replies, "because it was right." She looks down at the child, who squeezes her hand and smiles, unaware of the moment that just altered everything. "What happens now?" she asks softly. Her boss considers the question. "Now, we stop pretending this is only about a contract." Her chest tightens. "I do not want to be the reason you lose anything." He meets her gaze. "You are not taking anything from me." A pause. "I am choosing," he adds. The words settle between them, firm and undeniable. Later that afternoon, as they walk along the shoreline, the world feels different. Not lighter, but clearer. She keeps her distance, still careful, still aware of the imbalance that has not magically disappeared. "I meant what I said," he tells her. "Trust is not easily earned with me." "I know," she says. "And once it is earned," he continues, "I do not treat it lightly." She stops walking. "I need you to understand something," she says. "I am not looking for more than I agreed to." He nods. "Neither am I." He pauses. "I am willing to change what you agreed to." The ocean rolls in softly behind them. For the first time, the future is no longer defined by rules written on paper. It is defined by a choice made out loud. She does not answer right away, but she does not walk away either. And that, more than anything, tells him that the contract has already served its final purpose. The final day arrives quietly. Suitcases line the hallway. Sunlight filters through the open doors, carrying the familiar scent of salt and warmth. The villa, once full of voices and movement, feels hushed, as if it knows something has ended and something else has begun. She packs carefully, folding clothes with the same precision she has shown all week. The contract sits on the desk beside her bag, its pages slightly worn at the edges. She pauses, looking at it longer than necessary. For days, it has been her anchor, her protection, the reason she knew where she stood. Now, it feels strangely small. Outside, the child runs toward her, excited about the flight, about going home. She kneels to help him tie his shoes, smiling as he chatters about what he will tell his friends. "Are you coming with us?" he asks suddenly. She hesitates. "I am coming back with you," she says carefully, "just like always." He nods, satisfied. When she stands, her boss is watching from the doorway. "Can we talk?" he asks. She follows him to the terrace one last time. The ocean stretches out before them, endless and calm. This place changed everything without meaning to. "I have arranged for you to continue with us," he says. "Not just as part of the trip, I mean, permanently." She listens, her expression steady. "The terms will change," he continues. "Clearer hours, more support, and," he pauses, choosing honesty over control, "the option to walk away at any time." She studies his face. There is no negotiation in his eyes, only respect. "And the contract?" she asks. He reaches into his jacket and hands it to her. "You decide what happens to it." She looks down at the pages that once defined her role, then back up at him. "I will stay," she says, "but not because of this." He nods. "I know." They leave the terrace together. The airport is busy, full of movement and noise. She stays close to the child, guiding him through the crowd. Her boss walks beside them, no longer ahead, no longer distant. Someone recognizes him and nods politely. Someone else looks at her, then at him, then back again. This time, he does not correct them. He simply places a hand lightly on her back, protective but not possessive. It is enough. Back home, life resumes its pace. Meetings, school runs, quiet evenings. But something fundamental has shifted. She is introduced by name now, not role, not function, by name. At a small gathering weeks later, someone asks how they met. Her boss answers simply, "She took care of what mattered most to me." She smiles, standing beside him, not behind. Late one evening, after the child is asleep, they sit together in the living room. No agenda, no pressure. "I spent a long time believing power was control," he says quietly. "I was wrong." She looks at him. "Power is choice." He nods. "And love," she adds, "is choosing without fear." He reaches for her hand, not as a declaration, not as a promise, but as a question. She answers by staying. The contract is never renewed. It is placed in a drawer and forgotten, because what began as an arrangement ends as something real. The babysitter everyone ignored does not disappear back into the background. She becomes unforgettable, not because she demanded to be seen, but because, in the end, she was chosen.